Hi everybody, Cohh here with a patch update for Cyberpunk 2077. As we talked about when I played Cyberpunk, I am monitoring this project closely, seeing how it develops, and keeping my finger on the pulse of CDPR's updates on the game, hopefully to see some good progress for our eventual return to our next run, our big melee run, which I'm actually kind of looking forward to. So, on that note, let's go ahead and read over the notes, and we'll talk about it a little bit. So this is the 1.2 patch. So, when we heard about this patch, we heard it was delayed because CDPR unfortunately had the big problem with their hacking. It slowed down their entire process. They had to redo how they did remote workers, all sorts of things. So, it did delay the patch a little bit, but we're here, and hopefully it's going to be good. So, let's go down the gameplay stuff. CPD spawn radius when the player commits a crime has been increased. That's good. I don't know if it's like the fix we're hoping for, but it is a lot better than having them spawn behind you, which is apparently one of the big things they're fixing with that. New steering sensitivity slider added to the control setting. That's great. Allowing reduced steering speed for all vehicles. Very good. Particularly useful for keyboard users. Cool. Adjusted the vehicle steering code to work better in low and extreme high frame rate situations. We were in the high end with our $239 million PC. So that's good. It improves steering on base consoles noticeably as well. Cool. Unstuck rocking feature added to all vehicles. We were mostly on a motorcycle, so that didn't mean us too much, but that's good for people that like to stick to cars. Minor driving model tune revisions to some vehicles to improve steering. Fixed an issue where aiming while under the effects of Berserk cyberware moved the crosshair. So we're already getting into like bug fixes. Adjusted rate of fire for the helicopter turret. Police vehicles will no longer immediately despawn after getting to Carrie's car during Rebel. Fixed an issue where the projectile launch system had no cooldown. Oh my. Bump reaction for friendly NPCs has been disabled. Good change. That got a little awkward sometimes. Fixed an issue where grappled enemies played voice lines as if the player bumped into them. Okay. Now hold on. Before I continue reading every single note, this is probably the best part about the patch. So, this is really good. There are over 500 changes to the game. Before we continue, because I'm going to kind of thread this into there, let's talk about what this patch is. So, oh, and it says in many more at the bottom. That's true. This patch is a good first step for CDPR. Does this mean the game is fixed? No. In fact, I already know for a fact that there's some relatively major bugs that are still in the game. Does this mean the game is significantly better than before the patch? Well, it means that they're certainly doing what they can to get it up to that point. The good news about this patch is that it's very clear that CDPR is starting the process of attempting to fix Cyberpunk. There are some really good fixes and changes in here. I glanced through this earlier before reading it now. Many of the bugs we ran into are no longer in the game. That's awesome. Also, I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. I'm not going to read every single note because honestly, this is a gigantic patch, and I would be here probably most of the evening if I was going to do that. But there are some really good things in here. The big stuff with the steering and the cops is a good, I want to call it like a stopgap. Like obviously they still need more work on the GPS. The traffic is going to be something they need to focus on a little bit more. The cops was supposed to be this giant bounty system, and they've made it so it's a lot more immersive, but it certainly is not that system they told us it would be. But these are good steps towards where we're trying to go. They did make some good things here. Like the cyber psychos no longer can be like one shot, so they're actually kind of like boss fights now. They fixed a whole bunch of quests, of small bugs, of things not working properly. Apparently they fixed Jackie's gun in the infamous scene with Jackie that we made a whole lot of fun about. Apparently that's fixed. Just having weapons out in cutscenes apparently has been worked on in a big way. They also kind of slid in some things that are kind of big deals, but indicative that they're thinking about this kind of stuff. And let me show you what I'm talking about here down in UI. This was a really good thing when I read it. And it's kind of funny because it's just like sitting in here, but it's such a big deal. Let me see if I can find it here. So a lot of these UI fixes are really good because these are things that we ran into in many, many cases. Let's see. Added an option to craft multiple items at once. That's the kind of stuff that we really want to see put in the game. Like these are the little things where it's like that little change is going to save, like in a long playthrough, that's like 45 minutes that they didn't need to spend doing the same thing over and over. Like that's the kind of stuff that we want to see in this game. Like they're little things if you think about them, but at the same time, they're kind of a big deal. So yes, as Tamud just said, QL changes go a very long way. Yeah, so thoughts on this? This is a really good first step. Added a toggle to disable and enable comparing tooltips. Cool, that got in the way a lot of times. I'm glad to see that that stuff is fixed. Updated the credits list. I wonder if my name is actually shown properly now. That's a big deal for everybody, for the record. That's not just a big deal for me. That's a big deal for everybody. No longer am I Ben CohhCarnage Cassell. I might even be Ben CohhCarnage Cassell now. KG Lobster says, not really. I don't know, man. My name being displayed properly in the credits is kind of a huge deal. Added overhead text size options in the subtitle settings. Cool. Fixed multiple text-related issues. I like that. Fixed issue with broken buildings visible on the main map. There's so many things. Epic and legendary loot dropping from defeated enemies is now better visible on the minimap. Awesome. Yeah, dude, this is just good. This is great. If here's the important thing about this. This patch has established momentum. This is a great patch. There are a huge amount of fixes in this patch. There are tons and tons and tons of things that are going to make the game better in this patch. This is showing us that it's going in a good direction. If they can keep up this, then in a few patches, in 1.3, in 1.4, in 1.5, like this game has some serious potential to getting a little bit turned around, which is fantastic. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. Does this patch mean that we're ready to go back to the game? No. It's a lot of good fixes. It's some cool little QOL changes. It's changes to driving and cops. That's all good and stuff. But we're kind of waiting for when most of the fixes and stuff are in, like what's coming, how are you going to make the game better at that point? How are you going to start making the game back, like get it up to where you said it was going to be on release? Like that's the stuff I think a lot of people have been interested in. Eagles said damage has already been done. Oh, absolutely. I think for many people that the damage on release has been done, and I don't think they'll ever play Cyberpunk, and honestly have probably lost faith in CDPR as a whole. And to those people, I say, I get it. It was a massive breach of trust. Many people feel lied to, especially console players, and there is nothing that they can say to change that. They can do what they can do to make up for it. And for those of us that are willing to give a second chance, they could get us back on their side. Is this patch there yet? No. But it's a very solid first step in the direction that I think many of us are hoping for it to go. It's a very good first step. After, if we see the next patch come out and it's this size or larger, and we see the patch after that come out and it's this size or larger, and each one we see focus on like a core component and make it better and put those QL changes in. The next patch has a transmog feature. The patch after that redoes the GPS in World City. The patch after that starts working on city AI. Like if we see them, and I'm not saying rush it, take your time and make it quality. But if we see them like really make that effort to bring this back, I know there's many people that are like me, and we're like, we'll wait for you, just like we would have if you hadn't released the game, and we will give you the time to make it good if you're planning on making it good. So, yeah, this is a good first step. There's really that's the line. If anyone asks in chat, what does Cohh think about the 1.2 patch? It's a good first step. That's where we are. So yeah, it's a very solid first step. Two Beer says they still have a long way to go. They absolutely do. It took them. Granted, they had a hacking thing, so hopefully the next ones will be a little bit quicker. But it took them about what, 3 months to get to this point? I think 3 to 4 months. So I mean, we're looking at a year. We're looking at a year. Cohh doesn't know they introduced new bugs with 1.2. Oh, I'm sure they did. I also heard there's performance issues. Yeah, I heard 3000 series people are having performance issues. So, yeah. Oh, they also had the holidays, and I'm sure a vacation after launch. That's true. So we'll have to see. I'm not sure what they're now they've also this is concerning / intriguing. But they have apparently there have been leaks which are completely unconfirmed for the record. But there have been like these little technical leaks. I think one was on the Epic Store and some things like that, where they did say that there was like a bunch of DLC planned for the game and like all sorts of stuff. Now, if CDPR is actually planning on those DLCs selling, and we're talking about the Blood and Wine style DLCs, the Heart of Stone DLCs, the ones that are actually going to add like big chunks of content like they told us they were. If they are actually, they are going to charge for those, because they said they were going to way back in the day. They said they were going to have big paid DLC, just like with Witcher. If they actually expect people to buy those, like they need this game, like all the stuff that's already there, all that needs to be really, really good. If they actually want those to be super successful, like I'm guessing they're hoping, I'm hoping that will give them the impetus to like keep these patches up and keep the game getting really good. So they have incentive to No Man's Sky this project. It is obviously not a No Man's Sky yet by any means. But this could be a first step in that journey. I mean, 500 changes could absolutely be a first step in a No Man's Sky style redemption arc. Looking at like if we were to look at a No Man's Sky style redemption arc over the course of a year and a half, 2 years, this is the kind of patch I would think to see at the very beginning. Something to establish a baseline, get all the bugs and fixes out first. Apparently this helped console players a lot. Like this is the kind of patch that I think they have to kind of fix the foundation before they start working on the second floor and the roof and stuff. They have to make sure that they have a baseline. So yeah, we'll have to see. Anyway, that's enough of that. That's where we are. I will be doing videos like this for every patch. I will be going over all the notes. We'll be talking about the major features, taking kind of like a temperature check on how we're feeling about everything. For the big changes, I may even pull up Cyberpunk and we'll go in and like look at the changes, so I can kind of maybe make a small list of the big things. Like next patch that comes out, we'll go in and we'll test a car and we'll see what the multiple crafting looks like. And we'll summon the cops and see how it is. We'll kind of save all that for the next one, so we'll have a whole bunch to do at once. But we'll also be like actually looking at this stuff in the game and seeing, you know, how it affects everything. And I'm hoping by 1.34 or maybe even 5 that there's going to be enough interesting new stuff for us to actually want to dive in and start our next playthrough. Because honestly, even again, just to go back to it, even with all the crap in this game, even with all the issues, even with all the problems, there was still like a kernel of awesomeness in Cyberpunk. There still is to this day. And I did have a really good time in our playthrough, even though it was mired with all the other BS. So hopefully when we play it again, we will feel a lot better about it, whenever that's going to be. And we'll continue doing this as the big patches come out. So anyway, if you're watching this on YouTube, hope you stop by the channel, twitch.tv/CohhCarnage. We're not going to be doing our second playthrough yet, but we will be following along closely and updating you as we can. Thanks for watching.